I went to go get coffee before I started filming and I didn't even take a sip. So hello. Hi everyone. My name is Carrie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I feel bad saying that I'm in a reading slump when I know that I do end up reading more than other people wish they could. Because once again, BookTube is my full-time job. That's why I can read so much. Never, ever, ever compare your reading speed, reading amount to someone who does this online. Thank you. But this has been a bad month for me. I have had so many DNFs and I'm just frustrated because I remember last winter I read so many great books because I had so many books that were coming out. And what was great about those books is that a lot of the books I was looking forward to that winter were finales of or a continuation of a series that I already really love. And so in order to prepare myself, I would start from book one and I would reread the series, trying to time it perfectly so that then I could read the next book. And winter here where I live is bitter cold, and so I would just spend days in my warm little bed escaping into a world that I really loved, and I just love that feeling so much. And so I'm looking forward to that, but I have an issue where a lot of the series that I want to start reading are not being continued in a timely manner. And so I'm going to talk about the series that I want to start reading, but I'm hesitant about because they are not being continued really soon, and I am just not sure if my heart is ready for another non-finished series. And then I'm going to tell you about some finished series that you can curl up and read, whether it is summer where you are, whether it is winter where you are. So what books am I looking forward to reading? I'm so mad. I feel like I cursed myself on this one because I already had two books that I wanted to tell you about, and they were kind of the reason why I decided to make this video in the first place. And as I'm typing up my little list of like finished series that are gonna be finished soon, we got some news in the world of Legendborn that just broke me a little bit. So if you don't know, Legendborn is a fantasy series that I adore. I love it so much. And I always knew in the back of my mind, she called it a cycle. She didn't call it a trilogy. She didn't call it a series. She called it a cycle. And so I was just like, Tracy's not gonna settle. It's not gonna be a trilogy. It's not gonna be 4 books. She's gonna do something wacky. And sure enough, we get an announcement a couple days ago that not only is the 3rd book not coming out until 2025, which is fine. Tracy, take your time. I am sick to death of authors being forced to pump out books in a time span that ends up making the books not good at the end. So Tracy, I'm glad you're taking the time to do it. It's coming out in 2025, and Tracy's like, and yeah, it's not a trilogy. It's like, I love the world so much, but I just ache. I want the ending, but I don't want it to end. You know, that within me are 2 wolves. There was that news. So that is a series that is not finished, and I highly recommend, but just, you know, go in knowing you've got years. We've got years ahead of us for that. But the 2 series that inspired me to make this video about books that I'm going to start, and I will start this one. I need to wait a little bit longer. I'll wait till like February-ish to start them. And the first one is This Woven Kingdom. I don't even know what it's about, actually. Let me look it up. Let's discover this together. Someone that I trust very much, Perry, recommended this series to me. This is by the same author as Shatter Me. I get the hype. Like, I feel like people think I don't like Shatter Me. I get the hype about Shatter Me. I don't get the Erin Warner hype. But I understand. I ate that up. I get why her writing is so easy to just fall into, and apparently her writing has gotten even better, and I feel like this style, it has changed a lot stylistically. This Woven Kingdom has clashing empires, forbidden romance, and a long-forgotten queen destined to save her people. It is an epic romantic trilogy. Remember this. Trilogy inspired by Persian mythology, perfect for fans of Leigh Bardugo, etc. Okay, so the first book came out February 1st of last year. The second book, These Infinite Threads, will be coming out on February 7th, 2023. You'd think for someone whose birthday is the last day of the year, I would be able to understand the difference in years. So These Infinite Threads is already out because February 2023 has passed us. Her third book, All This Twisted Glory, is coming out February 6th, 2024. So you will have 2 books already out, and then we're gonna get the third one coming in the upcoming February. Now, remember how it said this was a trilogy? This is now the highly anticipated third novel, not the finale, not the end. It says book 3 of 3. But hold on, let me look this up. Yeah, why are people Googling book 4? Discuss in the comments what I'm about to say next. Listen up. I know that I said trilogy, but when I was talking to Perry about this, she pays more attention to the author than I do. And in an interview, or in like an Instagram story, okay? I'm spreading rumors. I don't have the actual source. But the author straight up said, this is not gonna be a trilogy. Look at her Shatter Me series. It has 100 books. It has a ton of novellas. It has 0.5s. She has books that are 0.5s in a series. Like, she's not a person who can stick to 3 books. So I decided, I've heard great things about the book. I'm going to wait until the second one comes out to start the first one. And I just give up because if I wait for this series to end, I'm going to be waiting until the 2030s. And I don't think I can do that. So I'm gonna start that. Please let me know your thoughts about that one down below. A lot of you guys, I guess there's a redheaded character. Somebody mentioned in my list of redheaded characters for my last video, people referenced someone whose name I've already forgotten. Cool. So this Woven Kingdom is coming up. I will start reading it at the end of January, which I'm excited for. And then after that is a book that I have wanted to read for so long, and I'm going to confirm with you when the next one comes out. And that is Little Thieves. I believe this is on Kindle Unlimited. On Goodreads it just says, once upon a time, there was a horrible girl. Ooh, there's like a curse and stolen identity and detectives. And yeah, I'm so into this. So let me look. So this is on Kindle Unlimited, and we have Little Thieves, which came out in 2021. We have Painted Devils, which came out, I believe, in 2022. And then we have Holy Terrors, currently unavailable. Don't know when it's gonna come out. Publication date April 1st, 2025. So again, that's another book that I've decided I just can't wait. I'm gonna start it. So this Woven Kingdom and Little Thieves. Also, I'm going to start, I believe this also comes out in February. I'm going to finally finish the Defy the Night series. I read Defy the Night and it was okay. And it was meant to be a duology. Then I got Defend the Dawn and I just didn't have time to read it. And then people started saying like, oh, I can't wait for the third book of this duology. And I was like doing math and I was confused. And sure enough, it's another one of those classic cases of planned to be a duology and is now a trilogy. So the final book, which is Destroy the Day, is coming out January 23rd, 2024. So I'm going to start reading those books in January. And so I'm excited for that. So anyway, those are the books that I'm excited to read, but I just can't. I'm just putting them off. Maybe I'll start Little Thieves now, honestly, because I need something. But those are unfinished books that I'm really excited to start. But why don't I dive into ones that are already finished? And I think in this list, I think they're all fantasy, but I think there's some funny ones, some serious ones, some exciting ones, some sad ones. hopefully it fits the bill. Here's my list. First on my list is a series that I read a couple years ago and I absolutely ate this up. It's a trilogy. I'm pretty sure I read it in 3 days, like one book per day. And it is Daughter of Smoke and Bone. This is by the same author as Strange the Dreamer, which is also a Finnish duology, and the worlds kind of connect. I loved this series so much. It is about a girl who is an art student in Prague, and having now been to Prague, it just makes it that much better. But she is raised by a mysterious figure. Is he a god? Is he a demon? We'll find out. She basically works for him and does these little odd jobs by traveling through doors that are kind of like portals throughout the world. And one day she goes through a portal, has a little run-in with this rough-looking dude, and then the door to her home doesn't open anymore. And so we follow her on the adventure that ensues. It was really good. I honestly don't remember a lot of details, but it had kind of enemies to lovers. It has demons and chimera and angels. It has different dimensions. It has a really wonderful side character, best friend, who's super funny. I just thought it was this really nice mix of like an urban fantasy because it did take place in present day Prague, but then on the other hand it felt like a full epic fantasy because we had a totally different dimension going on. I can't tell you anything else. Ooh, that was almost a spoiler. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I feel like a lot of people talked about it when it came out and then people have stopped talking about it. So if you are new or you haven't read it yet and you haven't heard anyone talk about it, this is me telling you. It's really, I really liked it, and I really think that maybe next week I might start it again just to try and get me out of this reading slump or this just unhappy reading cycle that I'm in. Really enjoyed it. Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Next up, kind of appropriate timing with everybody talking about Fourth Wing and the sequel coming out. I have a better book. And that is the Fireborn Trilogy. Are there 4 books? There's 3 books. It's the Fireborn Trilogy. This was recommended to me by you guys when I said like, ooh, you know, Fourth Wing was whatever. And I really like books about dragons though. All of you guys were like, thank you. This was so good. This series takes place in a kingdom that is now 10 years past a very violent revolution, and they are trying to completely rebuild this government system. Part of that system involves riders or flyers, call them riders, which are kind of the military faction who ride dragons. I just thought it was really good. I did think that it becomes very multi POV as it continues, so it got a little confusing, but honestly I enjoyed every character and I thought that all of their stories were quite interesting. The commentary on revolutions and how nothing is perfect and you have to keep questioning, you know, are we sticking to our motives? And yeah, it was just really good. I really loved it. So that is, and it was heavy on the dragons too. It was really excellent. So that is Fireborn, finished, fantastic. Next up is a series I just finished recently and it was so fun. If you want a funny fantasy romance, if you want a ridiculous book, if you want to have giggles, I highly recommend the Kindle Unlimited trilogy, Thrown in the Dark. This was a book that I picked up once again thanks to your recommendations, and I guess I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. It's very sarcastic. It's very much a parody of villain stories, and I just didn't, for some reason the tone didn't get me the first time, so I only read the first chapter and then I put it down. And then I decided randomly to give it another try and it just hooked me. So I understand if like you didn't enjoy it. I really did. We follow our 2 main characters, one of which is the son of a demon, and that means that he is a villain, right? That's what he was raised to be. He raises hell. He laughs at the sound of babies crying. He's really bad at being a villain. He is a good guy, but he's so committed. He's like, no, I'm a villain. And so his main purpose in life is to find a way to help his dad, the demon, this horrible, horrible demon, finds a way to help his dad escape from the crystal that he was imprisoned in. Once he lets his dad out, like, the world will be destroyed, right? So as he's on this quest, he accidentally runs into a girl who is on her own quest. For reasons you will find out, they become, unfortunately, inseparable, and their quests combine. And it was just so stupid funny. Like, again, the fact that he's a villain who is really not a good villain. I posted a screenshot of something, of a scene, and someone was like, LOL, he said behold. And he does, like, he goes like, I am a villain, behold. And it's just so stupid. The demon dad, like, they have a way to communicate, and whenever he calls up his dad, whose name is like Balthazar, the terrible creature of the whatever, he has like this horrifying name, and whenever our main guy calls up his dad, he's like, hey kiddo, what's up, how you doing today? It's one of those, like, it's very silly. I said this before, but it's like very Despicable Me. But it's also, there's a lot of romance, and I actually really liked it. Like, as the first book was just kind of goofy, and then the second and third book we actually get into like the action, and I thought the second book was really good. I thought the third book was just like a lot of funny scenes that were just really long and didn't need to be there. But overall, it was like, if you're reading this just to like have a silly time, it was really good. So yeah, I highly recommend. The first and second book were definitely the best, but just overall, as a finished trilogy, if you want some giggles, but you also want to read like a fantasy and a dark, brooding, romantic interest character, there you go. After that, we have The Bear and the Nightingale for peak winter vibes. This is a series that didn't super click for me, but I find myself thinking back to certain scenes all the time. This takes place in Russia, and it pulls on a lot of old mythology. It talks a lot about the old gods that live, in the forest, and how as Russia is turning more towards Christianity and the old gods are forgotten, they're starting to disappear and the world is kind of disintegrating. I thought it was so interesting because it had a very fairy tale feel to it with our main girl and the god of winter, or god of the forest. But it also had a lot of interesting like historical and political references with the brothers and Russian society. I totally get why people love it. I think it was just a much slower paced book than I'm used to, but if you want a book that just feels like winter and has so much imagery of like winter forests and these old creepy fairy tales, I would highly recommend The Bear and the Nightingale. It is also a trilogy. It is finished. It comes recommended by so many of you guys as well. So definitely wait for a day when you can just curl up in bed with a hot beverage and read about a lot of snow. The Bear and the Nightingale. Next up, this is a duology. This is our only duology. This is a duology, but it makes the list, and it's not necessarily wintry, but it makes the list because I read it last year during winter, and it was an excellent experience. And that is Ninth House and Hellbent. I believe Hellbent came out in January last year, or this year, technically. So I did what I love to do, which is I reread Ninth House so that then I could read Hellbent, and it was like a full week and a half because those books are chunky and you need to like digest them. So I just was in the world for so long, and I loved it. So Ninth House, when I first read it, that was actually my first Leigh Bardugo, if you can imagine. I read it before I read Six of Crows. I read it before I read Shadow and Bone. It was a confusing little read, and she got a lot of feedback about that, and some people loved it, some people hated it. It's confusing because of the timeline, so I don't exactly know how to tell you what it's about. It follows a girl who is brought to Yale on a full ride scholarship for reasons we will learn about, and she joins a secret society that involves demon work, witchcraft, and I can't even tell, just magic, but mostly dark magic, right? And so we get wrapped up into this world. She is trying to solve a mystery, but that ends up leading into a whole nother kerfuffle, which is what we really focus on in the second book. The second book is much more chronologically easier to read. And it was just really good. If you like dark academia vibes with demons and magic, and I can't even tell you anymore. So I really, really loved it. It is finished technically, but the way that it ends is very much like the story that she's trying to tell has ended, but it ends in such a way that she could start a new story with these characters and just keep writing more and more and more. So it's I think it's a really great duology in that it didn't fully shut the door. You feel satisfied with the story, but there could be more, and I believe she has mentioned that she's interested in writing more. So if you are here from the far distant future to be like, this isn't a duology, I called it, and I'm excited for more. But for now, you can read it and safely know that the story is tied up. Ninth House. After Ninth House, oh my gosh, I think this wasn't last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. This was my favorite book series of the year, and it is so due for a reread, and that is Gilded Wolves. Gilded Wolves is a trilogy. This is another trilogy, ironically, that I had to restart because I read a little bit of it and I didn't like it. And then it hit me at the right time and I devoured it and I loved it. So, Gilded Wolves takes place, the first book is taking place in Paris in the turn of the century, the 1890s. And Paris is filled with magic, specifically stemming from these different families. It ties to the kind of Tower of Babel biblical story. The people of Babel, got too close to God, trying to know everything, and so God toppled the tower, and now all of these families have like a different piece of Babel, and that gives them their powers, if I'm remembering correctly. No, I'm not remembering correctly. Anyway, it ties to that myth a little bit. We follow this kind of crew of people who are tasked with finding certain objects. It's very heisty, but it's also very dark and really touches on character relationships. I thought that the actual cast of characters were really interesting, and they had so much, their individual stories were so interesting, and the magic was just really fun. Everybody has a different specialty. One character is known for working with nature, and so he's in charge of all of the garden design in all of Paris, and the way that they just talk about it was just, if you love reading about magic, it was just really good. And so the first book takes place in Paris, the second book takes place somewhere in Siberia, so very wintry, and then the final book takes place in Venice. Just really good, really heartbreaking, very much. I know it's compared to Six of Crows often, and I think, yes, in the fact that it's a found family and very heisty, I will give it that, but it just because it's so tied to the real world, and it's also kind of not steampunky, but the magic just feels different. So good. But like I said, I recognize why some people couldn't get into it. I thought the second book was so good. Just read it so that you can read the second book. Excellent. That is Gilded Wolves. Next up is a finished trilogy that I don't know how to talk about because something happens in this book where I wasn't expecting it at all. I'm trying to be as vague as possible, okay? Do not talk about it, anything in the comment section without a huge spoiler ... Okay? Please. I need everyone to have the same experience I did. I went into this book reading it like a normal book, and then something happens and I was like, what? I was so shocked and just not prepared, and it made me I put the book down and I considered not continuing because I was so not mad at the book, but mad at myself for not seeing what happens. Really great. It's honestly if I tell you the plot, it's a very simple story of there are 3 kingdoms that are constantly at war. In order to maintain any kind of peace, it is decided that the princess of Kingdom 1 is going to marry the prince of Kingdom 2. They will form an alliance, and so Kingdom 3 won't attack them anymore. But of course, the princess is like, I'm not getting married to whoever you tell me to, and she runs away. And so we have Kingdom 2 and Kingdom 3 looking for her. One wants to kill her, one wants to also kill her, but first marry her. And it goes on from there. Really good. Like, just a classic fantasy trilogy. It felt very nostalgic. And then that actually ties into, that comes before the duology, which is also finished and I believe is on Kindle Unlimited. Dance of Thieves and then Vow of Thieves. Which I read that before, and I don't think it spoils. Well, I if it does, I don't remember because my memory is crap. So technically, you could have 5 books finished within the same world. What more could you ask for? That is The Kiss of Deception. Don't look, just read it, okay? Don't look anything up, please. I want to know what your reactions are. Yeah, I want to know. Kiss of Deception. Next one I just realized is kind of controversial because it's not finished anymore. But I'm still going to talk about it. A series that I actually haven't really talked about on this channel because I read it so long ago, way before I had a booktube, is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I really loved this. I think this was also a case of like, I hadn't read fantasy in a very long time, and coming back to a world like this, it just felt like coming home. Like it just, I love fantasy so much. So, and it takes place in London, and not only London, but 3 different Londons. So I was just like, yes, please, this is my book. We follow a few different characters, but mostly we follow Kel, who works for the royal family, but kind of under the table, he helps move stuff around the different realms. There is, I think it's Red London, Grey London, and White London. I forget, but there's different levels of London that do not intersect. Only Kel can travel between them, and they have different levels of magic. And when one of his kind of deliveries goes wrong, we end up on this very long adventure. I loved so many of the characters. I just really loved the story. I love the world. It's very much due for a reread. However, now that I'm saying that, this is finished. It was a trilogy. But V.E. Schwab is working on continuing it. We're going to have, I think it's like a 7-year jump. And then we're going to get another trilogy on top of that. The next one, Fragile Threads of Power, is coming out. Oh, okay, it came out. My bad. Fragile Threads of Power came out on September 26th. And yeah, book 2 and 3 are unnamed, no dates. She has like 1 million books that she's writing. I'm going to not start Fragile Threads of Power because I'm not ready to wait many years for that. So if you want a finished trilogy, Darker Shades of Magic, but know that the world will continue and already has been continued if you are insane and you like reading unfinished work. A Darker Shade of Magic. Next up, this was another one that I read in 2020, and it was in my top list of favorite series that I read that year, and that is Ember in the Ashes. I remember there was a time when everyone was talking about it, and then once again, I think that it's just everybody read it, and then so we all kind of stopped talking about it at the same time. So, reminder, Ember in the Ashes, this book was really good. It is a trilogy. Is it 4? It's 3. We follow quite a few different characters, but mainly we follow our main girl who, her brother was taken away by the government and she wants him back, obviously. So she approaches the rebels and basically makes a deal that she will be a spy for them if they find a way to get her brother back. So she joins the household staff of someone who works at the military academy, which is where we meet our main boy, who is in the military academy, and he does not fucking want to be there because he's a lover, not a fighter. And you don't just leave the military academy, especially not when your mom is like a high-ranking official. So he feels trapped, she feels trapped, they end up crossing paths. Chaos ensues. There is war. There are goddesses and mythology. I don't remember the plot at all, but I just distinctly remember like certain characters and certain scenes, and like the imagery is still very much there in my mind, which is the mark of a good book. So if you haven't read it yet, I feel like this was a classic that everybody loved, but if it wasn't on your radar until now, Ember and the Ashes, highly recommend. And last but not least, just because I also read it last winter and so it just kind of took over my life, I will give a shout out to Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This was her most recent Shadowhunters series. It's a trilogy. Those books are long. So if you just want to be in a world for a long time, she does it. I will say that the third book was like not the best, but I really enjoyed just the action of being so sucked into a world for over a week trying to read these books. I do like Cassandra Clare's writing, and something about it, like I just felt like I was there. And so this is part of her Shadowhunter world. We are in London. This also does spoil some of the other series, so I would read this after reading the Clockwork Princess Infernal Devices series. Read that, then read this. But it takes place in London. We follow a group of Shadowhunters, and they grew up having this kind of idyllic childhood where their whole role in life is to hunt demons, but there weren't really that many demons around to hunt. So they've just kind of had it easy until one day all of the demons come out. It seems to mysteriously be tied to our brooding Arendelle man, James. And it was just, I really loved the characters. Again, I think she dropped the ball with more than a couple plot strings, but I really enjoyed it. And so if you're looking for a world that has a ton of books that is technically tied up as of now, she claims that she has one more series that she's gonna write in the world. I make fun of the Shadowhunter world all the time, but honestly, they're fun to read. That was me, January of this year, curled up in my bed, reading Chain of Gold, Chain of Thorns, and Chain of Iron, and just having my heart racing for like a week, and it was great. So that's that. Sorry this video was a little random. I'm very sleepy and I'm still in my pajamas. I'm not doing makeup today. It's just one of those weekends where I just can't. So I am excited. I think I'm going to start Little Thieves today. We'll see. But yeah, I've been DNFing a ton of books recently, and I've just not been enjoying reading. It's probably only been like a week, but it's been rough. So I hope you guys are all reading something nice. If you have, this is also not the be all end all list of finished series, so please drop your favorites down below. This was just when I was thinking, what are the first finished series that come to mind that I really loved? These are the ones that came to mind. So leave your recommendations down below. Please add a spoiler warning and then multiple ... before you leave your comment about any of these books, but specifically Kiss of Deception. Yeah, I will catch you guys next time. I'm working on something for you, so I might take a week off in order to do that, but just know that I love and appreciate you all, and thank you so much for always tuning in, and I will catch you guys next time, okay? Okay, see you. Bye!